took all the dirt over here to examine the layers of the dirt and see what was going on under the surface of the grass. And now this soil pit over here can be used for anyone at UConn, any student, to come and observe stratigraphic layers in the ground that everyone walks on.
As you can see, there's lots of plants growing here. So this has been dug out for a while because it allowed for this all to grow after it was dug.
Okay, so as you can see here, you have one layer right here, and then another layer right here, and another layer right here. And the difference between these layers is they vary in like rock composition and like hardness of the soil. So like down here, obviously it's going to be much more brittle and thick, but here it's more like loose soil. So yeah.
As UConn students, we often refer to this home of ours as Cowtown, and in this rural environment, we have the soil pit right over here. This lower bottom layer that we can tell is pretty hardy, and the stratigraphy is due to low human disturbance.
So when UConn or whoever dug this pit out created it, they built this like orange fence thing, and pieces of it are falling off. And this is a novel synthetic material. And over time, as the pieces fall off and more material stacks on top of it, they will get ingrained in the stratigraphy. So future stratigraphic observations will be affected by these technofossils as they will be ingrained into the stratigraphy. This photo here is taken from one of the Anthropocene curriculum articles and represents the phenomenon that I was just talking about in the last clip, however on a much larger scale. As you can see here, the trash in this photo has been deeply ingrained in the stratigraphy of this environment, and this just shows the danger of human-made materials getting ingrained into our geology.
Storrs, Connecticut is home to thousands of students since 1881, which will naturally cause deposits of human materials such as microplastics, which we will see from this. So that will have an impact on the stratigraphy in the rural environment, which we call our college campus.
This photo is taken from the textbook and talks about the layers in the stratigraphy of the Grand Canyon, and basically just demonstrates how the layers closest to the bottom are older, and as you move up, they get younger.
Obviously, we're not talking about the Grand Canyon in this specific example, but we can use other examples of stratigraphy and look at models of it to understand how it applies to UConn's campus.
These obviously can all be observed in plain sight in our own rural environment, the soil pit right here, as well as the novel materials around it and inside the stratigraphy.
You can see an example of what we were just talking about here at home at UConn. In the top left corner there, that's a parking lot now, but it actually used to be a landfill, which would cause novel materials to be piled underneath in the stratigraphy, such as trash.
As you'll see in the diagram that I create later, once the top layer, over time, material will build on top and top and top until that layer gets pushed down. So the way we can use this for future studies is we can examine this layer, but in, let's say, like 100, 150 years, this layer might be down here. So we can examine the composition of this layer before it gets pushed farther down into the ground.
Technofossils are man-made artifacts that become part of Earth's far future geology. Although you will see this glass, we did not do this. This glass on the ground is not a technofossil because it is not part of geology yet. It has not decomposed or become part of any ecosystem. It is still negatively impacting the ecosystem, which we call our rural environment. And maybe along the line will become some kind of technofossil, as we may see glass implemented into soil sediment. UConn forests are a human-made impact because there definitely used to be an environment of trees and bushes and a lot of greenery in here. But now the paths are a way for us to enjoy the forest and to walk around and observe our environment, specifically how we impact this environment as humans and students. As you can observe in plain sight, this is cement on the ground. Obviously, cement is not natural, it is man-made, and it was poured here to ensure for a path. This, at some point, if it's not torn up, will become part of the geological environment that we can observe in plain sight.
So here we found this piece of plastic, this black piece of plastic right here. Um, this is obviously human-made, and it could be considered a technofossil. And over time, when more material piles up and piles up, this will get ingrained into the geological record of Yukon Forest, and will affect future observations. As
This here is either sand or sawdust, which does not naturally exist in the forest. It means that it was like dumped here by humans and by people in Yukon forests. So this down the line will get piled under sediment and will be reason for people to then down the line be able to observe the stratigraphy of Yukon forest, as this does not naturally belong here and will originally become a technofossil.
So as you can see here, we are outlining the process of layers which will add up for stratigraphy to happen during the passage of time, starting with oldest layers to newest layers. You can see that not all of the layers being drawn are equal because they all have different kinds of sediment and soil that will build up on each other over time. So here's a closer look at what that soil contains. Unfortunately, it will contain a large amount of man-made products such as trash, which will eventually become technofossils, which down the line become ingrained in the soil as they are part of the stratigraphy. So as I just mentioned, technofossils, here's an example to outline that. You see a man shoveling snow using a plastic snow shovel, which over the time with scraping on a driveway will deposit microplastics into the snow, which will melt and become part of the stratigraphy as a technofossil.